trying to get as many people as we can that don't know about it to avoid downtown as well right now, because that is obviously the last place you would want to be. You want to try to avoid a violent situation potentially, one that's already gotten violent today, one that's resulted in the city hall of the city of Rio being damaged on the outside and the inside, where break-ins occur and fires were set. And it's a situation that has just continued to escalate really within the last 2 hours. It's right around 6:30 when things really started to take a turn for the worst, after being largely peaceful throughout the first several hours of it prior to that. And it was at that point when what is likely the vocal minority and the active minority wanted to actually start breaking things. And once that happened, the police had to get more involved and take measures like they're taking right now. As you just saw, barricades being put up at the corner of First and Virginia Streets.
Stand by, right?
And we want to go back out to Rebecca Kitchen. As you can see, they're at City Plaza right in front of City Hall, giving us the latest updates.
Yeah, we wanted to move out of the crowd a little bit because of that last incident. Again, we do want to apologize, but I can tell you, I just heard glass shattering. Now, we are a little bit too far away from where that actually occurred, so I can't tell you if that is a window or a bottle that was thrown, but it was a very loud shattering of glass. The protesters, now almost rioters, as some people could call them, have moved right up to that barricaded line right at Virginia and First Street, face to face with the officers, calling out, chanting out signs saying Black Lives Matter. I did have some businesses out around here as we were trying to get to the scene. They were asking me, what does that curfew mean? Should we be closing down our businesses? And yes, you should be closing down right now because things are escalating out here. We want people to stay safe. Periodically, you'll hear over the loudspeaker of the Washington County Sheriff telling the protesters to go home because the curfew is in place. I do see people who are being very peaceful, standing. If we can actually move over to the bridge, I want to show this liner here. There are people who are standing peacefully, so there are individuals who are taking that peaceful protest to heart, but there are other individuals who are throwing water bottles, throwing things at the police officers, and making this less of a protest and more of a riot. So we will continue to follow this all evening, but please stay out of downtown and let the police do their job.
Yeah, well said, Rebecca, thank you. And that's exactly what happened, as she just said, turning from less of a protest and more of a riot in some instances, though that's the minority of people involved. And this is a situation where the burden is on Reno police now to deal with it, and you feel bad for them because this was a situation that happened in Minneapolis, and no Reno police officers did anything wrong, but now they have to deal with the burden of it, as so many other police officers do all around the country. The Atlanta Police Department said that one of its officers has sustained significant injuries after being struck by someone riding an ATV as a result of these protests. So that is obviously the worst thing. You have to believe that that would be the last thing that George Floyd would want, to have innocent police officers, hard-working police officers hurt as a result of this. But yet, that's what we're seeing. And now we're seeing gas having to be set up right out in front of City Hall as these protests turned violent several hours ago. There, as you can see right there on live TV, tear gas being fired off into the crowd.
Giving you a great look of it.
Right in front of our cameras.
Kanina rin, banda rin sa kabila. Nagpakawala ng dalawa. Yung isang lalaki nakahiga na sa asphalt kanina. Kaya matanda.
As these protests turned violent several hours ago. And again, bear with us with regards to the video. We're on straight live video for a sustained period of time. We're going to get some shaky shots that were as unavoidable, but for the most part, our crew is doing a great job getting you these looks in the toughest of circumstances down there on the Virginia Street Bridge. And There's a look at the Riots themselves. So those of you who don't know Reno at all, I'll look at where exactly this is. But in Reno City Hall, damaged badly as a result of this, at least what we've seen so far. No word on the interior damage to this point. These protests happening coast to coast, they already took place down in Las Vegas. I don't think they were quite like this, though admittedly I didn't see a ton of the Vegas coverage. But New York, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago, we've seen
Yung building na sa nasa kanan, wasak-wasak na yung yung salamin. Basag-basag yung sa baba, ating salamin sa baba, basag na.
In Minnesota, a place where they've now somewhat of a memorial that had been created. We ran a story on that in the 6:30 show on the scene of where this actually took place. Definitely a struggle for people that live in the downtown area having to deal with this. But Chuck went in once again with Rebecca Kitchen as she's on scene for us, giving us a look at this scene right now. Becca, are you there? Can you hear us?
All right, we are back out here live down on Virginia Street. You can see the protesters have moved back again to the front of that barricade after that latest round of tear gas. But you can hear the tear gas going. People are running. We might have to move because there is a tear gas canister. Walk with me. There's a tear gas canister right where we were standing, so we are walking down on the bridge. Now, I do actually want to point your attention to the sky. You can see Raven is flying over the area as well. Now, as we move back, if we can turn back around to downtown Reno, as you see the smoke from the tear gas and the lights from first responders, we have Reno Fire out here. Protesters now back into the street with their hands up. And this has been probably maybe the 6th round of tear gas that has been fired since I've been out here.
Nandiyan ako kanina.
This now riot here
Bakit may ano
in
ba?
downtown Reno.
Diba nga yung namatay nga yung
Certainly
itin.
doing their best
Oo.
to disperse.
Ipinoprotest nila, no?
Already caused not only to City Hall but the Reno Police
Bakit
Department.
bigyan pa ng bailout dapat wala ng bailout dapat
Or
yun.
3 police cruisers with smashed windows.
Yan, ito yung bintana,
And I even heard
sa
one
wasak na.
protester saying as they were walking
Yung bintana,
to the police
ano,
department,
sa wasak na.
grab rocks.
Oo
Grab
nga.
rocks. So you know that there are some people here
Binobomba ng
intent
tear
on
gas.
causing damage. And
Saan
then you see
yan?
that burst through the
Downtown.
streets rail.
Doon sa may hagdan?
Oo, sa downtown natin. Ito. Reno downtown.
Over there. And the scene certainly escalating more and more frequently.
Oh,
Those
binigyan ng
tear
copy
gas
of
canisters are
downtown.
being fired. And I do believe every time a canister is fired that there is fewer people who are out staying. I've seen people with tears down their eyes saying, we're done, we gotta go. But there are very determined people out here as well, making sure that their point is heard about this Black Lives Matter and this protest here in downtown Reno. Back to you, Ben.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Man, you can really see that, man, those tear gas canisters flying up the street, sending sparks flying across the Virginia Street Bridge. And of course, the tear gas itself, something that, yeah, I think that's a good point. You don't want to have to see those canisters fired off, but the more of them that do get fired off probably will result in fewer protesters sticking around that particular area. Though, as you can see, looking back south, down towards the old Riverside, that they may be moving away from the City Hall, but they're not leaving the scene. They want to remain on scene for the time being.
There's more barriers being brought in.
Diyan tayo nakuhanan na.
I heard Rebecca say more barriers being brought in, probably a good thing at this point. More emergency crews on the east side of City Hall over there towards the county as well.
Ay,
Given the
kabaya,
situation on
mamaya,
that side,
bigla.
you can see City Plaza itself
Ano dyan?
somewhat cleared out. There were over 1,000 people there earlier today. Definitely a struggle for those that live in the downtown area.
Excuse me,
know
please
that,
do not do that. Do not touch our camera.
Our Bridget Chavez, she lives downtown, and she said it was tough just to get home. And again, all the exits on Interstate 80 are closed to get to downtown. Wells is closed, Virginia and Keystone, that's exits 12, 13, and 14 are all closed. Trying to limit the amount of people that are in the downtown area. And I'm being told that Sheriff Darren Balaam also issuing a statement. And I'm going to try to pull that up for you here if I can. And indeed, we do have it from the Sheriff of Washoe County. He says, tonight, our community is continuing to face hardship, and we are just as angry about the events that happened in Minneapolis as those demonstrating. But please, for the safety of yourself, your family members, and our community, please go home peacefully. We hear your anger. We understand your anger. We stand with our community, and we implore you to not let anger destroy our beautiful home. End quote. That's Sheriff Darren Balaam. Now we see Rebecca pointing over to this scene here and trying to get a look at it here. Protesters arm in arm, lining up here.
Nakakatakot, ano?
Barricade that's been put up outside of City Hall.
Hindi na pwedeng galawin yan, te. Ang ano lang nila, intergas lang talaga ang panlaban ng mga polis. Hindi na pwedeng pagsaktan yung mga yan, eh. Makakasuhan sila. Intergas lang ang panglaban nila.
Tignan mo, baka may kilala ka dyan. Baka andyan sila, ano? Diyos ka sana naman eh. Ang lakas ng namin sa labas.
And again, a curfew is already in effect, obviously not being acknowledged by the people that are out there protesting.
Trying to get a front shot of it.
One other statement that I just noticed from City Councilman Oscar Delgado, saying we are all frustrated, I am frustrated, but with the senseless killing of George Floyd. But with violence is never the answer. Effective immediately, the city of Reno has instituted a curfew. I ask that everyone follow that directive and please stay home. There is so much that needs to be done and said over the next several weeks related to Mr. Floyd's death. Let's please be thoughtful in what we say and what we do so that we can stay focused on ending police brutality. That Reno City Councilman Oscar Delgado put in the last hour. Just after 8:30 here, Ben Deitch with you in studio. Rebecca Kitchen is live on scene for us, getting you the latest on this situation. As you can see, the Reno Police Department out in full force. And I'm not sure if other law enforcement agencies are joining them or not. I'm suspecting they are. You can see signs being held up. Injustice everywhere. With Martin Luther King being mentioned in that particular sign there. Some protesters wearing masks, others not. That again, kind of a scary part to me, thinking about that earlier. 1,000 of them all together at City Plaza. Most of them not wearing masks. That's a concern too, but almost put on the back burner with what's going on here tonight. And let's once again head out to Good Morning Reno anchor Rebecca Kitchen, working for us here on the weekend shift, giving us the latest. As you can see, she's right up in front of that barrier the police have put in place. Becca, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I want to direct your attention, we already pointed to you, but this group of individuals sitting down on the street, locked arms, yelling, what's his name, responding, George Floyd. They're trying to make their point heard. But as you can see on the ground point down there are bottles of water. There's litter out here.